Hello and welcome to the show, and welcome to the FailRace Christmas tradition. Yes, we have got Scalextrics and we have got Cats doing various silly shenanigans along the way. So this time I actually got some more track, so I could make slightly bit more of an interesting. So I've got more track, but less cars are working for this one. But yes, Cats love Scalextrics. They like following the cars around and generally being a little bit sillier. So this time I've got a little bit more technical circuit for them. And we were going to mess around with some, I'd say, with some little bit fancier kind of filming and so on. The phone footage of this, for some reason, can't quite go to the right resolution. Didn't realise until afterwards, which was a little too late. I was trying to do some fancy slow-mo shots and some fun lighting, and Eve, we made a little tunnel, which the cats were fascinated by. It's a tiny little thing to have done, and the cats got really interested by it. Eve immediately managed to cause problems for that, knocking over the light. It was messing around for some fun lighting, and yet she was having none of that one straight away. She found her favourite spot to watch the shenanigans going on, a little too much speed. Amazingly, the escort got away with that one with a little bit too much speed. One of those like narrowing sections, which didn't quite go right this time. Little too sideways, clipped it off the plastic bit. I also watched, like, I love that you can watch in the slow-mo. You can actually see the cars kind of sparking as they're going along. Eve, then we had the first stoppage of the day, the first red flag for a cat lying on the track. It had to be Eve, decided to block the exit of the tunnel for reason unbeknownst to everybody, but she wanted to have a little blockage. And then Abaddon decided to have an investigate of the tunnel because, you know, the track wasn't exciting enough. The tunnel had to be batted at. It's the most simple bit. It's just Amazon bit of cardboard. Essentially is all it was. But yeah, it turned out they were fascinated by it. He tried. It's not big enough for a cat to fit through. I can tell you that much. My camera did not know what to focus on in all of that. But yeah, he was determined to try and fit his head through and then bat at it. I found some, I guess, what used to be like track support, or would have been used for like track supports for elevated track, to kind of try and prop that up, which they then liked batting around. And then we've got another cat down, this time on the entrance to the tunnel. Yeah, the car was in there, hoping he was going to stick his head through the tunnel, but he stopped and then proceeded to lie with his butt on the track. It turns out he can be quite photogenic, can Abaddon, when he wants to be. He's kind of, almost looks like he's posing. The camera, when you're messing around with the zoom or whatever on the camera, it kind of whirs, like you can hear the motors whirring in it. And I think that kind of attracts the cat's attention, which means you can get some fun shots. I then had to go and try and rebuild the tunnel because he'd knocked it over. Eve was back lying on the track again for more reasons of Eve being silly. But we got the tunnel back working once more, and then went back to doing some slow-mo shots of having the vehicles kind of sliding through the little, I can't remember what section it is, like a little rally section, I guess it is. It's quite, I remember from many years ago when I used to play with Scalextric. It's cool though, it is really cool seeing the cars sort of moving around a fair bit in slow-mo on all of those. Eve returned to her favourite little judgment spot. She liked sitting on the box, as all cats do, really. She likes just sitting up there and watching the cars. Initially, it was either flop on the track and watch, stop all the cars, or watch as the cars occasionally pinged off the track from her spot on the box. Now, I did have a TVR that I got working for, in typical TVR fashion, all about 1 minute, and then proceeded to not want to work after that, because, of course, that was about the one good pass I got going with the TVR before it broke down completely, or just refused to really work. Then went about doing some slow-mo sliding of the escort. It took the cats a little while to get into actually chasing the cars. They were kind of happy to sit and watch for a bit and then bat at the tunnel, sort of in between. But while they weren't being complete lunatics, it was kind of fun to slide the vehicles around some of the corners. And then we had another stoppage for an Eve on the track. Yes, Eve would sit on the track and stop all of the racing action in that one, because of course she would. They did figure out how to deal with it, how to stop the cars going. They don't have to chase the cars or bat the cars off the track if they didn't want to. They could just lie on the track, and that would stop all of the wasn't quite what I was hoping for, though. Was wanting more chasing of the cars. That's the idea behind this one. Now, we did gradually start getting towards that point. Eve was actually, surprisingly, in all of this, Eve was the first one. Normally it's Abaddon. Normally it's the youngest one that's a bit of a lunatic, and he likes to chase the cars around. But in this instance, it was actually Eve was the first one that perked up and went hunting. You can see the zoomies. You can see the zoomies. She then got surprised because her butt was on the track and was not looking in the right direction to spot the car. She's almost ready to have the big zoomies after the car. She kind of thinks about it. It's not fully committed on the zoomies, and then it's back to hide in the corner to sit and watch. It wasn't long before the kitten then started to decide to actually try chasing after the car rather than just sitting on the sidelines, although then it crashed and the cat got slightly... They get slightly confused when the cars pinged off the circuit. They didn't know what to do with the cars when they'd fallen off. And I turned my back for a second and we're back to lying on the bridge. Yes, it turns out if you sit on the bridge, now they completely collapsed the bridge. They pinged out all the supports and it did work. It did work. I'll say bridge, the tunnel, the bit of cardboard. Cats like sitting on cardboard. And once Abaddon had moved, no, that didn't really improve matters because then Eve decided to sit on it. I mean, there's one tunnel support trying its best to do a job there. It's really trying its best to do a job there. It's not going to be enough to to hold up the Eve, really. So it was the tunnel was rebuilt for whatever number time. There was a roll. It was the first. It's always an important part of the FailRace video is the first roll of the day. Abaddon is not entirely sure quite what's gone on, and Eve is more interested in a box, because of course she is. We then had another fairly long reset.
It's not fucking on, is it?
And here we have the difficulties of putting a Scalextric's car on a track. Everyone can laugh at you.
Screw you.
I'm running out of battery.
Screw you.
This is the longest it's ever taken someone to figure out.
Oh my god! It's coming at your face in a minute.
Hey!
No. Oh.
And now you crashed it immediately. 10 out of 10. Amazingly, I didn't have a tiny car hurled across the room at my face after all of that. We got back going again. Eve went back to her zoomy spot of sitting in the corner, ready to pounce at any second, and sure enough went for the car, is in full zoom mode, and then the kitten decided that he was going to go and chase Eve instead of the car, and then would have zoomies himself. It was time for full-on Abaddon zoomies, which are terrifying. Yep, there we go. It's just The Abaddon wants to kind of run across, and then there was a tiny bit of a slide, and that managed to ping the escort off there. Yeah, Abaddon had the zoomies to such a degree, didn't really have full control of his faculties at this point. It was sort of zoom at the car, don't know what to do, and bounce out of the room. Just at full speed, and then bounce back into the room again, and then bounce on the sofa and try and parkour around the sofa. It was the proper cat zoomies, and now we're going to go for full chasing of the car, and then scratch at the track. That's not what Scalextric's track is supposed to be used for. I mean, those bits of track were there because they didn't work properly, and then the car went for a spin. Amazingly, never really went to pounce on the car whenever it had like a spin or an off. They were kind of interested it was moving, but as soon as it stopped moving, it was like, oh, well, that's done now, we don't care. And then we're going to jump over, and then we're going to run back again at warp speed and run around like a lunatic. We're just going to spin around in circles. Eve, I think, was hiding in the corner at this point, just trying to stay out of trouble, because you don't get in the way. You don't get in the way when Abaddon is zooming. So I say, sadly, at this point, as the car goes for another roll off at the first corner and is now fully up onto its roof, Abaddon found a box, of course. So there were... didn't know what we were going to do, so I found some spare boxes in case we were going to build some more complicated like structures for the cars to drive through. It turned out all you needed was one like sleeve, and that made a fun tunnel, and that was it. But Cats found a box, and naturally have to sit in a different box. Abaddon tried and failed to jump on the sofa, and then has a bunch of zooms and some more zooms going backwards and forwards. It's a good way to tire out the cats, that much is for sure. And Eve has found her box again over there. More lunatic jumping cat was eventually going to hopefully would run out of energy. But yes, Cass, my third cat, came down very briefly at one point and ran away and just wasn't interested at this particular time of filming. For whatever reason, sometimes happens. Abaddon then decided to go back onto his viewing platform from the sofa. You get a good view of the track, sure. Very nearly took my camera with him as he jumped off the sofa. I wasn't expecting that, as the car ended up with another tumble, and Abaddon is still on the slight curious as to as to what was going on. Yeah, he just had all the zooms in one go from that one, but you could tell was starting to get a little bit tired.
I have a wicked idea.
Was that the wicked idea?
Nope.
10 out of 10 parking, well done. Now, the idea had been to put a cat toy on the back of the Escort. So this is a kind of a little mouse thing that's full of catnip, which, if any of you who have cats will know, cats absolutely love it. They go absolutely mad for it. The car didn't want to start. It's a very light toy. It makes no difference to the vehicle's ability to drive. It was just obviously a crappy... It's an old track, this lot. So yeah, it wasn't great. Abaddon had woken up now, having seen that there was catnip involved, and sure enough was curious and was making his own little bridge across the track. Abaddon does it... If Eve is like standing over the track and you drive under her, she does not like it. Abaddon just doesn't really care whatsoever. Now, the downside of this is the mouse had made the car slightly taller, which was a little bit of a problem. Well, it was a little bit of a problem with the tunnel, although that was a crash before the tunnel. That spun off before it got to the tunnel, and then a cat stood on the tunnel, and then it stopped becoming a tunnel. This was the downside of the mouse on the roof. Now they were squashing the car and curious about the toy. Fair enough. But yeah, the tunnel was quite low on the outside, which was the lane that worked better for all of this. So the tunnel had to be rebuilt. The idea was to stop the car from getting stuck, essentially. After a bit of a faff rebuilding the tunnel, Abaddon proceeded to find a new corner to sit and watch the action from. It was going to be a... As I say, Abaddon had run around like a lunatic for a while. The car had gone for a roll. Yes, we did catch the car going for a tumble. Just about. It was mainly focusing on the cat, but yes, still. Also, the aftermath of the car going for a tumble in all of that one. But yeah, Abaddon found a new perch to watch from. Eve then jumped, disappointed I didn't catch it. Eve then proceeded to jump on the tunnel, break the tunnel completely, get rid of all the supports, which then got the car stuck. Thankfully, she was helpful. She managed to fish the car out of the tunnel for me, because she was also now interested in said toy. Or at least, she was interested in the toy enough to fish it out, proceed to go and sort of sniff and investigate and confirm it was catnip, and then, nope, we want to go sit on the cardboard. Yes, of course, because of all of the possible things that... she could go and do. It was going to sit on the cardboard, and now she was determined to get the just about surviving support section out of there. I quickly rescued the car, because I didn't want the car getting squashed. The one working car, I did not want to be a broken car, because an Eve sat on it, and then she completely flopped. And that was... that was it. She figured out... They figured out, if you lie on the tunnel, it kind of stops all of the shenanigans going on. Everything stops and you can have a rest. And then she found that the thing rolls and make a noise when it rolls across the floor, and we could bat at that. I don't think anybody understands the minds of cats. Eve just wanted to be... on the cardboard. I mean, it is true. You know, they say it's like you put you tape out like a little square on the floor of tape, cats will go and sit in it because it looks like it's different. And well, mine certainly prove that. With just a cardboard sleeve is enough. Abaddon was just perched in his corner, minding his own business, trying to stay awake. Yes, he does look a little bit sleepy after all of the running around like an absolute lunatic from this. It would hope so. Eve did not want to move. Eve really did not want to move from her perch for whatever reason. That was the comfiest spot on the track. Eve went to get some close-ups, and then we're going to get some nose boops from an Eve. Thankfully, I don't have a nose print on the lens of the camera, but she got very close to that one. Just has to investigate the camera in all of that, and then we're going to have to try and investigate it. But apparently, it's not comfy enough with that support there. Maybe it's just about good enough. We can loaf, and that will just about do the job. So, I don't know what red flag number this is of the day. It's quite a lot of red flags have gone on. Not very often do you have red flags because the cats collapsed the tunnel. Eve then found the box, because, of course, there was a box to be found, and Eve found the box to go and sit in, and Abaddon had to make sure and investigate. Now the track was clear. The cars could be run around this one once again. I was actually half expecting her just to sit in the box and enjoy the view from up here, because that is the normal viewpoint for the Eve, but no, she actually jumped back down and then proceeded to go off towards the other box, because why not? And after a little while, Abaddon had woken up again and was deciding to go chasing after the car once more, but rather than the full zoomy backwards and forwards, he too had figured out that the best way to stop the car was mess around by the tunnel. And that you could collapse the tunnel and that could cause problems. I don't know quite how it was and why it was that they cottoned on to this idea, but he would like to sit there, and he was sort of patting at the top. Now, I don't know whether it's because the car disappears out of sight momentarily there, that's why they focus on that particular part. He was a couple of times he tried to get the paw ready in time for it, and then he proceeded to do the stand on the thing, collapse it all, ping the bits of support out of it, and I mean, it worked. He got the car off the circuit with minimal effort. It wasn't just a stoppage. It wasn't just, like a red flag stoppage because of a cat in the way. It was he legit broke the track. And he looks very proud of himself for for that one. Amazing stuff. Well done, Abaddon. And then he went off to go chase after the track support. I mean, I too had my fair shares of comings off with the car. Shut up.
You're not very good at driving, are you?
You've crashed it more than me.
Fail number 2.
It's rolled. I've got to roll a car. All right, that's part of the video. So the next day, as I'd left this all up overnight, I figured I'd set it out again the next day, see if Cass would come along, because we can't have a Christmas cat video without the third of the cats. And this time, Cass was interested in playing a little bit with, or coming to at least say hello. Eve and Abaddon were also once again interested in the car. I thought Cass was going to wander off immediately again with just I don't really care what's going on, but no, he'd go over and have a little bit of a sniff and a little bit of an investigate and see what it was about. This time it wasn't the car breaking down, amazingly. Helpfully, it wasn't the car breaking down. I did actually stop it so he could go and have an investigate. He then went to go and sit on the sofa to watch from a distance in all of this. Because he never gets too close to the action. He's a very pretty cat, but he is a very, very shy cat, and does not always want to be involved. Eve returns to her usual of, we've been here for 2 minutes, I'm going to lie across the track. It was a different point in the circuit that she went to lie across, and Abaddon wanted to get in the way of the camera, because of course he did. They're always up to something on this one. We set the car off again, and it's straight to the tunnel once more to sort of sit by that one. Eve was munching on some food. There was barely any food left because she'd already had breakfast, the greedy cat. But it's just to make sure there wasn't any food left. Meanwhile, Cass was observing. He was doing his usual, just kind of observe from a distance, and that would be. So that's the most you normally get from him. The other two are the ones I expect to kind of chase the car around, and I mean they went back to their sort of expected ways. Abaddon would go and have a try here and there at batting at the car. Eve would sort of sit watching, and then whenever the zoomies took her, Abaddon figuring out again, collapse the tunnel, stops the car, and then we can lightly pat at it. Yes, that's the way to do it. Once again, it had worked, and annoyingly, it managed to perfectly lift the car up. If he'd got off that and the car had not, been slightly further back, it would have been fine. But no, you managed to completely bugger the car up. And Cass was just quietly judging all of us for having... for me having been outsmarted by a cat who was once again breaking the tunnel. What can you do? What can you do against such troublesome cats? It was just, well, I can't really. You're just gonna sit on the cardboard again and pull at the cardboard. And Eve was going to come and say hello, because now it's her turn to go and block the shot, naturally. They're not very, funnily enough, they're not very good at getting out of the way of the camera. Now we just want to go play with the cardboard. And then we're going to ping the support out. And tunnel collapse about number 10 at this stage. Cass was having none of it, was not interested. Then we're going to have, I was just going to pat the car, are we? No, he'd gone to get a slightly better viewpoint. Yeah, we're going to sit on the kind of arm of the sofa, have a look from up here. You can observe the world well from up here. I was surprised to see him going to try and get a closer look at the action. As I said, he just normally will sit and overwatch, and then as soon as someone else comes closer, we go, nope, I'm just going to wander away and try and decide where to go next. He did eventually come back, though, and this time did start to get curious. This is the closest I really get to proper Cass kind of zoomies. It doesn't happen very often. It doesn't happen very often to get. There's almost a nose boot between. There's some suspicion between the pair of them there. But yeah, don't get Cass zoomies very often. Incredibly difficult to catch on camera. However, it's going to be the closest we'd really get to proper full-on Cass zoomies. So Eve stood on the tunnel. Again, of course. They're not completely collapsing it, though. This was good news. So, sent the car off, got it going again, and Cass was actually interested in kind of chasing it. If you watch the ears, he does this weird, like, almost like twitchy thing when he's got zoomies. It's like, almost like excitement of, I kind of want to chase this, but I'm too dignified to chase the car. Look at him go. He kind of wants to chase it, but he sort of doesn't know what to do. It's just, I don't know, it's almost like he doesn't have full control of his faculties at all when he wants to go and chase. He just forgets how to cat all of a sudden. But he's definitely really, really keen on having a chase of this one. He's almost ready to pounce. Wait for the paw. He's going to try and get the car and missed on that first. He had not figured out the whole jump on the tunnel to kind of break the car. But I was just waiting. I was waiting for the inevitable Cass try and pounce and do something, because you can see it's building. You see he's building up to go and chase after a car. He's trying to keep track of where it is. I say, unfortunately for him, it would be Eve who would be the one that would actually go and make a move for the for the car. As Cass is still looking around and sort of getting ready to battle. He was checking on Abaddon, who was standing just out of shot, and then Eve goes to chase it, scares the crap out of Cass, and they both run out of the room. I mean, they're not very clever. And there was Abaddon just doing his own thing. Eve came back from all of that, and that was the kind of closest we got to some proper Cass zoomies. He sort of wanted to play, and he didn't. I don't think he just even knows what to do with himself at this stage. He's a strange cat, a lovely cat, but a very strange cat. And yeah, he almost one year we'll get proper Cass chasing cars around. Apparently, it was not going to be this year. Just that was the closest I managed to get it. Yeah, he came back, sort of sat by the door, and would eventually be too busy watching Abaddon rather than watching the car, as you can see from the curious look going on. Yeah, Abaddon was trouble. That's definitely not. That's a trouble look right there. He was not paying attention to the cars. But then off goes the kitten to chase Cass away. But yeah, there we go. That was some Christmas Scalextric's fun with cats. It was an absolute riot, messing around with all of this stuff. I did try some sort of outtakes, if you will. I did try to run the other escort. The Lamborghini and Bugatti don't work properly either. This is the thing with old Scalextrics, doesn't always work properly. There was a second escort that I tried to run, and this was the result. Is all in super slow-mo. At some point, there's going to be a car. It's going to appear. Abaddon is busy watching and waiting for the car to appear. Here it goes. It made it not very far off the start line before conking out, and the wheel had fallen off. For which the cat sees is, yep, I'm going to go after that bit. But yeah, cats and Scalextrics is wonderful fun. As I said, this was amazing fun to film. And while, yes, old Scalextrics and old cars were not really playing great, there was still enough mayhem, still enough entertainment to be had. That much is for sure. That, though, is going to be it for this video. Merry Christmas to all of you. I hope you all have a wonderful day. Thank you all very much for watching. And until next time, goodbye.